All right, so yesterday we started reading about adaptions, and we read adaptions for getting food and adaptions for protection. So some of the things that we went over yesterday were adaptions for getting food. Frogs have long tongues, barnacles can just drift and the food will come to them. Woodpeckers have strong beaks. Butterflies can have a strong straw-like tongue called the proboscis. And we have hands and teeth that help us get food. Then we talked about protection, right? We saw the spiny pufferfish has the spine so he can puff up, right? Because he's a small fish and he swims slow, so he might look like an easy target, but because he can puff up and have those spines, nobody wants to eat him, right? Or if they do, they make that mistake once and they don't forget. Camouflage is the ability to blend in, right? And so lots of animals have camouflage. The book actually talked about a butterfly. This particular butterfly can look like a dead leaf, but we know that, leopards and wild animals a lot of times have the colors that blend in with the safari so they can't be easily seen, right? Turtles, they have hard shells. That helps protect them. Plants can be poisonous. So can animals, poison dot frog, right? That helps to not want to eat them and helps protect them. And animals can have special fur. Like we talked about, the sea otter has a waterproof fur to keep it dry and warm, right? So today I'm going to read to you adaptions for reproduction, okay? So every kind of plant and animal must reproduce. Every organism has adaptions that allow it to produce its offspring. Some organisms spend a lot of time raising and caring for their offspring. Other organisms spend no time raising offspring. The method of reproduction that works for one kind of organism will not work for another kind of organism. Every organism has its own adaptions for reproduction. Dandelions are successful plants, right? Those are those little yellow ones. Each plant produces hundreds or thousands of seeds. Each seed has a puff or down to carry it on the wind to a new location. Once the seeds blow away, they're now on their own. The dandelion's adaptation for reproduction is to produce many seeds, okay? So if it just produced one seed, the chances of it, finding soil and being able to plant and nothing happening to it would be, slim. But because there's so many seeds, its, rate to produce more dandelions becomes greater. So that's its adaptation, lots of seeds. The Gerbie is a water bird. The female lays eggs in a nest in a marsh. When the chicks hatch, they follow their mother as they find food. When they get tired, they climb on the back and they snuggle down under her feathers. The behavior of protecting the chicks is an adaptation that helps the baby gerbs survive. Okay, so she hides them under her feathers. So if they have to fit on her back, she wouldn't want to have 1,000 babies, right? Because then that wouldn't be productive. And maybe some would drown if they got tired, right? So she only has a few. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is bees, right? Bees are social insects. They live in colonies of thousands of workers. Workers build six-sided wax cells. Okay, the queen bee lays one egg in each cell. When the eggs hatch, the worker bees feed and care for the growing larvae. When the larvae are fully grown, the workers cover the cells with wax. In a few days, the adult bees come out, ready to go work. Feeding and caring for the young is adaptation that improves the bee colony's chances of survival. Human babies are helpless when they are born. They grow and learn slowly. Human parents must spend years raising their offspring before the offspring are ready to go out on their own. Providing years of support and care is an adaptation that improves the chances of the human offspring will survive, right? Because if our parents kicked us out when we were 3, what's our chances of survival? Probably not good, right? We wouldn't know about cars. We would just dot out, maybe chase a butterfly or a bee or a cat or a dog and blah, 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 and things would happen to us, right? So it takes parents' guidance for a long time to keep us safe and away from harm or, of any of that kind of stuff. So we spend lots of times where sometimes there's some animals that, by 7 months, they're on their own getting their own food. That would never work with us. All right, so organisms are adapted to live in a certain environment. An organism's adaptations don't help an organism, it's not in its environment. For example, the barnacle's rake is the adaptation for getting tiny food particles in the ocean environment. The rake helps the barnacle survive. But if the barnacle is moved to an environment that has only large food particles, the rake won't work. The barnacle will die because it's not adapted for eating large food particles. Adaptions make it possible for many different kinds of organisms to live in the same environment. Each different organism has adaptations that allow it to use different resources for the environment. And that's important, okay? Because if it doesn't serve its purpose, then it's not going to help the animal, right? So all these animals and people, we have different adaptations so we can survive and can survive in the same environment, okay? And there is also the adaptations for movement, right? Most animals move in their environment. They need to find food, escape predators, and find mates in order to survive. Birds fly. We talked about that. Wings and feathers are structures that allow birds to fly. Wings and feathers are adaptations. Fish swim. Fish have broad tails and fins to move them through the water. Fish have streamlined shape. Broad tails, fins, and streamlined shape are adaptations that allow fish to move easily through their environment. Snakes slither. Snakes have strong muscles that make waves along their bellies. They have scales that give the snake traction. The waves push the snake forward. Strong muscles and scales are adaptations that allow snakes to move through the environment. Grasshoppers walk, jump, and fly. They have walking legs for moving slowly through the grass. Grasshoppers have strong legs for jumping long distances and wings for flying. Walking legs, jumping legs, and wings are adaptations that allow the grasshopper to move through the environment in 3 different ways. Okay? So that's what we've talked about in adaptation. So we will talk more in class.